Hello, everyone. Welcome to another session of the Learning Redefined conference hosted by Showbie. Today is our final day. It's our Nordics day where we've got colleagues from Norway and Sweden and Finland that will be taking part in a variety of different sessions. Just for those of you that don't know about Showbie, Showbie is a hybrid learning platform. It's supporting over 3 million educators globally. It's very much focused around providing deeper, richer, more personalized feedback. Showbie's been working alongside educators for almost 10 years. It's got some amazing partnerships with some really powerful applications. If you want to know more about Showbie, just feel free to go to showbie.com and have a look at that. Kind of moving on, today we have with us Gerd Staverløkk. I hope I've kind of pronounced that right.
That's great.
Thank you, Gerd. And just kind of, I'm going to get Gerd to introduce herself, but actually, Gerd's a head teacher. She's been a head teacher for 4 years, and she's kind of started up the whole idea of digital process in her school. And I'm really kind of excited to hear about what Gerd has to say about her journey. So, Gerd, tell us a little bit about yourself. You know, your background, where have you come from, what kinds of things you've had experience of, and then we'll look at your journey and the transformation that you've done in your current school.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Gerd, and I'm from Norway. And you will hear that by my accent, I think. I've been a head teacher here at Rennebu Barne- og Ungdomsskole for 4 years now. Before that, I was a teacher, and I was in a leader group in Oppdal, where I'm from. I have 3 kids, and my main hobbies are then football, because they're all playing. And I also have many interests in the digital education and in education overall. I've been set by that since I was a little girl and went to school by myself. And I've always liked school as an organization. So that was my main goal when I was little, to become a teacher. And here I am, still thinking that was the greatest choice I took.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful to hear that. So good. Tell us about this school where you are at the moment, right? What's the context like? The families, the area, the region that you're in. Just give us a bit of context so people can have a picture of your school.
Yes, it's a middle-height school, I think. We're 220 students here. We have about 54 persons in our staff. It's from 1st to 10th grade here at our school, which is the middle school in Norway. We live just next to Trondheim, just in the middle of Norway. It's a little place. Rennebu has 2,400 citizens. It's a community with not so educated people. So we have some difficulties about that. But we have parents that are interested at school, and we're moving forward. But not the best educated persons. So we have jobbed a little bit for our goals to get where we are now.
I see. Go on, carry on. Continue.
And but when being a little society, we also get close to each other, and so we work very close to the other units here in Rennebu. So we have a lot of help from the others.
Wonderful. That's good to hear. It's like more of a close-knit kind of family kind of setup, right? So everybody knows everybody and so on.
Yes.
Okay. So just kind of like digging into like I'm particularly interested from a leadership perspective, that as a leader, you came to a school 4 years ago. What was that like when you came there, right? And, how have you managed to kind of transform? What kinds of things like did you focus on? Because I know like, there are so many things that go on in a school. So how have you kind of focused on that transformation, and certainly the digital transformation as well?
Mm-hmm. I was asked to come to this school 4 years ago. And when I was asked for I got to set my own goals for what I wanted to do and for how long I wanted to stay in it. And the digital one was one of the first goals I set and got the politicians here to come with me. When I came here, we had 15 PCs for the whole school. Then we were 300 students here. 15 PCs was all that was in a little room and almost not used in a day at all. And that's easy to explain when you don't have much to do with. So we started in February 18, took in iPads for 1st to 7th grade, started education for all the teachers for a year. We had monthly courses for the teachers, also had courses for the students, and it was great. I was excited because we have a lot of older teachers that weren't so happy then. But the journey of the education and what they learned and how it's used in the classrooms after, it's great. Now we have iPads for 1st to 9th grade and PCs for the 10th grade, which are going over to the next level.
Wonderful, wonderful.
And they all use it daily, and they have education in how to use it in the pedagogical way, not only as a tool.
Oh, that's great to hear, and I think that's the key aspect, right? Because we want to improve pedagogy, we want the learning to be empowered, and that's really why aspects of technology are used for that. Okay, so one question I do have for you, right, is like teacher attitudes, right? Because you kind of come in, and in many ways I've kind of experienced this in a number of places. You know, you might have teachers that have been teaching there a long time, they've not been using technology, and suddenly Gerd comes in and says, hey, we're going to transform this place, we're going to be using technology. So what was that like for the teachers at the beginning, and how has that kind of changed over time?
Actually, there was a big applause when we said we were going to this, because the school had wanted it for years.
Okay.
But not my principal that was before me.
Okay.
So the teacher has been waiting for this for a long time. Of course, some of them weren't so happy, but they wanted it to, and they thought it would be easy for them to join just a little part. But when they saw the total change that I wanted, of course, they were a little bit frightened also. But we got very, very great courses from Richt that we used then. And we had teachers that came to us and showed us in the classrooms and learned the teachers how to use it, both as a tool and as a pedagogical tool, so they could experience it and see it. And that changed a lot, both mindsets and how to be a new teacher in the classroom. And that was great. And we used a year, heavy work, and we were spot on as leaders. We were in all courses, we were in all classes, we joined all the teachers all the time and used the tools ourselves and are still using it in our work, so we can be a part of the education.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I think something that you've said there is kind of quite powerful. It sounds like you made a significant investment in teacher development and teacher training.
Yeah, we did. And it's important, if you want the change to really come in the classrooms, you have to make this development, and you have to make every teacher to use it and to be comfortably in using it. And you have to show them both how this is how you can use it, and applaud it when you see them use it.
Yeah, I think that's powerful. It's like what we do with children in the class anyway. If they do good things, we got to praise, because that's an important part of learning. I think one of the things that I've kind of seen on my travels is that, typically speaking, like teachers, their kind of understanding of pedagogy is quite high. They understand good learning, what makes good learning. They understand assessment, feedback, and so on. But their understanding of technology is sometimes down here, right? So
Yes.
I think that the work that needs to be done is to kind of bring the understanding of technology at the same level as their understanding of pedagogy. And I think when that happens, that's when we kind of begin to see some magic, right? Some amazing things happening in the classroom.
Yes, and we experienced that our pupils got to learn more. They were more motivated, especially the ones that weren't so happy for school.
Yeah.
And they responded quickly when we started to use the pedagogy in electronics also. And we see it even now. Our students respond to it and say, it's more fun, it's easier for me to learn, it's better for me.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I think that's key. That's the thing that tells you that actually it's been a journey that's worthwhile, kind of, it's been worthwhile taking that journey. So, Gerd, just kind of digging in a little bit deeper about the types of technology that you're using. I do know that you use Showbie, but, what does it look like, across the school? What kind of technologies are you using for the students?
Now we're using Showbie as the main platform for 1st to 7th grade, but we also use Showbie for 8th to 10th grade, even on PC, because the teacher says that's the best one to use, both for delivering work and to communicate with the students and the parents.
Okay.
We use Showbie as the communication with parents, with the plans and information that we want to give. We use something called Sokrates here in Norway for our students at 8th to 10th grade.
Okay.
We use a lot of apps. We can download almost everything we want. We don't have a system that says, no, you can't, yes, you can. We can decide by ourselves, or I can decide what the school is going to have about learning apps. And we have Socrative as together with Showbie. And we use, after this pandemic, we use a lot of Teams, Microsoft Teams, in our school. But we have a lot of things that helps us, and we are not taking in everything. We have to take a discussion: is this to help us, that the students learn more, or not?
Okay. I'm going to come back to kind of the learning aspect and more things like in terms of what's going on in school. But just tell me a little bit about the parents. What's the journey been like for parents, right? You've come in as a new principal, suddenly the principal's changing everything. What was it like before? What was the attitude? How have you worked with parents in the community?
Yeah, not all parents were so happy when we started. They were skeptic. They didn't want their kids to be so much on screens because they read about it and heard about it. But when we started and they saw how it was used, they turned over a lot. And after the pandemic, we have got a revelation. They really appreciate that we have these digital platforms and that we have done this work so their kids could work from home or here at school, or they can be wherever and still do the same things. And we, from school, the teachers can contact them if they're home, if they're at school. We have to be in contact, and we have got a whole different world here after we started. Wow. So the parents that were not so glad are now coming to us and said, this works very well also for us.
Wonderful. And what was it like during lockdown? Like, I know in Norway, you've not had as many kind of lockdowns as we have here in the UK. But, I think you've had one lockdown, one school closure.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes,
what was that like?
we had one lockdown that started in March. We got to have a plan day. So the teachers started to say, how are we going to do this when the students are at home? And we made a lot of plans, a lot of how to do. And we started, this was a Thursday, and we started on Monday. And then we were in contact with all the students daily and with the parents weekly. And they got work to do from home, and they delivered it to us, and they got to respond every day and every week. And we got to see a lot of students that aren't so they don't deliver so much when they're at school, but at home they delivered a lot, and they worked very well. And we saw that some students managed that extremely well, and also some parents. So that made us learn a lot of what are working here at school and what are best working at home. So we had to change a bit of our upset and how we got to take things, and that was great for the teachers. But we managed to make good things out to the students, and they responded very well. And we got the parents to be with them, especially the little ones, and work with them. And we have very good communication on that for the weeks that we had locked up. Afterwards, the parents thanked us for being so in dialogue with them and making the days okay.
Okay. That's quite fantastic. So it sounds like that, during the lockdown, you've been able to kind of learn new things from that, and
Yeah.
you've kind of implemented different things in the school based on the information and your kind of experience during lockdown.
Yes, we were extremely glad we had done this education before the lockdown. So we had iPads to all the students, or PCs. So everyone had their item at home when they started. And we knew that all the students managed to be in their iPad or in their PC, and they could the programs. And we were glad the teachers had all the courses, so we can just push the start button and be in there at once. And we're glad afterwards. I can say I'm glad I've been there in the lockdown. We learned a lot. And the school is not the same afterwards, because we learned so much about the students and how they learn and what they like and what works here at school and what works at home. So I'm really glad we had this opportunity to learn.
That's quite powerful. Just like other schools in the region or even in Norway, was it the same experience for them?
Not for all. We see that not all schools have items for all students, and then it's not easy. But the government has come with some money that we can ask for and pay in some more to be more like for the future. But not all schools, not all communities has the same reaction as us now. But we were very glad we had done this before, and we can stand in this situation very well, and we're glad for that.
Okay, that's wonderful to hear. So just I'm kind of interested to know a little bit more about, education generally in Norway, and especially digital education, has the government there kind of made commitments in terms of, what does digital education look like in Norway, or what it's going to look like? Are there any programs that are running for that?
Yes, in our plans we have the government has made some goals for us, and we have to be able to deliver in both digital education and programming. And there are courses for the teachers, so they can educate more in that, paid by the government. So we are proposed to and can stand in what are expected from us. Myself, I'm going to NTNU and be a student for next year in education and leadership in schools.
Okay. That sounds quite fascinating. So good. Just a couple of questions. What would you say has been your biggest challenge with technology?
The biggest challenge must be to stop the teachers, because now they want more. They want to learn more. They want to develop our teaching, and that's good. But we have to go step by step and be sure that everyone is following us. And that is maybe the greatest. It's good, but it's also a challenge for us.
Yeah, because I suppose the teachers want more, they're learning new things, they want to kind of, try, but you want to take the whole organization with you, and not just some teachers moving on very quickly and others are still not quite there. That's quite interesting. And I can see that as quite a big challenge, I suppose, in many ways. So one thing that we know about technology is that it continues to change. What I find is that even like in 6 months, there are new things that come out. And, 1 year with technology is like, a long time. 2 years and 3 years can even make devices obsolete. Like new technology comes out and it doesn't work on technology that you've had just 2 years ago or just 3 years ago, right? So how do you maintain teachers' knowledge and understanding of new technology, new approaches, and so on? How do you stay ahead of the curve?
We're using a lot of our time here at school with the teachers, updating each other, and we are having courses for the staff with Microsoft or with Richt, as we used for updates in Showbie. We're trying to be within the time, but it's not always easy to know what you are going to, what is useful to learn, what is the new things that will be the most important. So that is that's difficult, I think, but we use a lot of time helping each other, trying to see what is important for us to learn, what is important for us to know. How can we be better next year? How can we propose or able to see what is next in 5 years?
So I suppose, and I think that's powerful and important, because you got to kind of look ahead and so on. So just the same kind of question, but I'm kind of asking you this now. Like, how does Gerd stay ahead of the curve? Where do you go to kind of, see what's coming next? What's the impact in education? Do you connect with other school leaders that are like-minded and so on? How do you kind of, plan for the next 12 months, year, 2 years, or so on?
We have an organization for principals here in Trøndelag. We meet a lot and discuss this, and I also search a lot of information by the high schools or the universities, what is coming next, and I use a lot of time to talk to the deliverance, for example, Microsoft, to know what I'm going to look for. What will be the next one for me to take? What shall I prepare for? So I use a lot of time, both because I'm a principal and also because I'm personally interested in it.
Okay, that's quite powerful. So just if I was to walk around your school and if I walked into the classrooms, what am I going to see that's different with technology, like in terms of the day-to-day practice that teachers do?
Here at our school, you'll see Apple TVs and screens in all classrooms and all the rooms for the teachers to meet in. You'll see students that use their books and their items just as they use pen and paper before. It's part of the normal day, and you will see them in groups, in pairs, in singles, You'll see them outside and inside, and you'll see that this is the normality.
I see. I think that's kind of really interesting. What does kind of coming? I've just looked at my clock, and like we've only got 5 minutes left, right? Because it's kind of interesting when I've been doing these conversations, I start off and I think that we've got lots of time, and then I look again, and then we've only got a few minutes left. But tell me about assessment. Like, I know you use Socrative. What does, the way in which students are responding and kind of submitting work, what's that like? Obviously, they now have tools that give them a lot of kind of freedom. So what does that look like in terms of assessment?
We start with not so many assessments when they start at school, and we build up. So they have got more and more, and they learn more and more, and have more and more freedom to make their own choices, how to deliver. It's a part of how to be putting grades on them. Also, when they got in 8th, 9th grade, we use a lot of tools so they can make their choices, how they learn, how they want to deliver. Are they best in speaking? Do they like to make videos? Do they like to make VRs? Or do they make a PowerPoint or write a presentation? What do they like? How do they best say how they learn and what they've learned?
Okay.
I'm not so... we don't decide so much when they're older, but they have a lot of choices. And we think that's good for them.
Yeah, and you must see a lot of creativity when that happens, right? They must be doing pretty amazing stuff.
And that can be difficult for the teachers that want to decide and want a straight form on it, but the students respond very well on having their choices.
Yeah, I can kind of see the power of that, because it's one thing just kind of submitting something, and everyone submitted the same worksheet or the same document and so on. But then if you're asking students to kind of submit things in different ways, and that means you're going to get greater engagement from the students. And I think there's a certain power in especially like video-based or voice-based submissions, where students have to explain and speak and talk. That's different to kind of traditional submission, because in traditional submissions, a teacher is trying to find out what was the student thinking when they were solving this problem, whereas now that the teacher doesn't have to kind of worry about that, because the student is actually explaining it, and it's probably easier to kind of cover misconceptions. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I really agree with you in that. And we also see that the students respond better in, for example, reading a text on a video than reading it in the classroom.
Okay. That kind of absolutely makes sense. Cool. So I think, Gerd, this has kind of been quite a good insight into kind of your school and the whole kind of leadership stuff, and how you've kind of approached this. If you had to give, if there was a head teacher now watching this, maybe from Norway, maybe from any other country, and they're thinking, okay, I'm thinking about, do I get technology for everyone, or I'm gonna get technology for everyone? Your final advice, what would you kind of suggest to them to think about as a school leader?
You just have to start, but you have to think of the pedagogy first, and use people that are good at that into the teachers, and make sure everyone is in it. And it's just one way to go. Start it.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Gerd. I really appreciate your time, taking your time out as a principal in the school. Obviously, principals are very busy people. They've got hundreds of things that they're doing. So really appreciate your time and kind of your wisdom in sharing this information with people as well. Gerd is on Twitter as well. I think her Twitter handle is there. Just give her a follow. You can kind of see what's what. And Twitter does this nice thing of tapping translations, and it'll translate things as well. And I kind of follow a lot of Nordic educators as well. So absolutely worthwhile doing. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for being part of Learning Redefined 2021.